Welcome back to Montreal Connected. CFL training camps are scheduled to open this weekend, but a labor dispute threatens to derail the season. To talk about a potential player strike, we now bring in Stephen Brunt in our Sportsnet studios in Toronto. Stephen, what is the major issue for the players?
Well, it's kind of a systemic issue, I guess. But if to boil it down, there's a lot more money in the system suddenly in the CFL. The CFL is experiencing relatively good times. They've got a big new television deal that kicks in this year, and the players who make modest salaries compared to other professional athletes want a bigger share of the pie, and they want that share linked to wherever revenues go in the future. So they want a system that's more like the system in the NHL or the NFL or the NBA, where the cap, the limit on salaries, is tied to revenues, so they can participate in the good times.
Well, Commissioner Mark Cohen says the CFL is still a fragile league, but as you mentioned, you see a new TV contract, new stadiums being built, and a brand new franchise in Ottawa. So is it really as fragile as Cohen says?
Well, it's not. It isn't. They're going to go from $15 million a year in television money to $40 million a year, which, again, compared to the NHL or Major League Baseball or the NFL is nothing. But in CFL terms, that's an unbelievable bonanza. You have a new stadium in Winnipeg. You have a new stadium in Hamilton this year. You have a new stadium coming in Saskatchewan and a new team in a new stadium in Ottawa. All of those things are going to push league revenues. And with the Saskatchewan Roughriders alone, you have a team that even in tougher times has contributed millions and millions of dollars to the league. So 10 years ago, 12 years ago, this is a league where you had a couple of teams in bankruptcy. But that is not the case right now. It is, in CFL terms, historically, it's as healthy as it's ever been.
Well, you mentioned it. I mean, CFL players make pocket change to what NHL or NBA players make. So could the players weather a strike with such little resources?
That is the question. I say the $1 million question. It's more like the $60,000 question, because that's what some of these guys earn. The league is clearly gambling. The league has taken a very hard line in terms of not attaching the cap, reattaching the cap to revenue, saying we have a hard cap, this is the number, we'll give you a little bit of a raise, but we're going to take this new money and put it in our pockets. They're taking that gamble because they believe that the players who have never gone on strike, a union that is untested, and a group of players who are really disparate, Canadians, Americans, some guys who've been in the league a long time, some who are just passing through, that the league's gambling that there's no way that this union can support, maintain a strike. They've said they won't lock the players out, so it would have to be a strike, but they are betting, and it might be a good bet, that the union will not hold together if times get tough.
Well, as you mentioned, at this point, it doesn't sound like there's going to be an agreement. Do you think that both sides will come to an agreement before the season starts?
Well, they're talking, but you've got two very different. It's not like we're haggling over 1% or 2% or an amount of money. We're haggling over one system versus a very different system. A hard cap that's where the number pulled out of the air versus a cap that's attached to a percentage of revenues. Those two positions aren't reconcilable. So unless one of those sides is willing to give on the kind of system, I have a hard time seeing how they're going to negotiate their way into a contract. So that leaves one other option right now, and that option would be a strike.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Stephen, for all your insight, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Kelly.